Welcome back, apprentice. It's the QuickBooks Wizard here. Today, we're tackling the mysterious world of bank feeds, the tool that can save you hours when it behaves, or hours of cleanup when it doesn't. Stick around. Brian's about to show you how to keep it on your side.
Thanks, Wizard. Hey, everyone. I'm Brian Cogan, and this is the QuickBooks Wizard Podcast, where we drag the bookkeeping monsters into the light and show you how to tame them. If you've ever clicked on the banking screen in QuickBooks Online and thought, what are all these green and gray lines doing? That's today's topic. The tool that brings those transactions in from the bank is called the bank feed, and around here we call the little critter behind it Feedy. Feedy's not a villain. He's more like that eager puppy who'll fetch every stick in the yard, whether you ask for it or not. Handled right, he'll save you hours of typing. Handled wrong, he'll chew up your books. Today we'll get to know Feedy, show you how to train him to follow the rules, what to do when he misbehaves, and how to keep him in his cage so month-end reconciliation doesn't turn into a wrestling match.
Did somebody say, good boy? I can behave if you show me how.
We'll hold you to that, Feedy. All right, let's start by understanding what this bank feed really is and why so many businesses depend on it. The bank feed is QuickBooks Online's pipeline to your real-world bank and credit card accounts. Every night, sometimes several times a day, it grabs new cleared transactions from your bank and pipes them straight into the banking tab in QBO. Those green lines you see in the For Review table aren't yet part of your books. They're suggestions, snapshots of what cleared the bank. QuickBooks tries to guess where each one belongs based on your past choices, vendor names, amounts, and a little bit of AI pattern matching. Think of Feedy as the gatekeeper. He's standing there with a clipboard saying, here's what your bank says happened. Want me to add it to the books, or should we match it to something you've already recorded? That one step, match versus add, is where most small business owners either save themselves hours or make a mess they have to clean up later.
Apprentice, never forget, what's in For Review is just a list of suggestions. If you hit add on the wrong one, you're telling QBO to book a brand new transaction, even if you'd already entered it elsewhere. That's how duplicates are born.
Exactly. Here's the simplest way to think about it. Match means this transaction already exists in my books, usually from an invoice payment, a recorded deposit, or a bill I entered, and we're just linking the bank's cleared item to it. Add means there's nothing in the books yet. Go ahead and create a brand new expense or deposit line for me using the feed info. Most routine expenses, the gas station, the utility bill you never pre-entered, will be adds. Customer payments you invoiced already, those should be matches to the open invoices or undeposited funds. If you're matching right, your book should reflect reality and reconciliation is a breeze. If you're adding when you should be matching, you'll double count revenue or expenses, and Feedy gets blamed for your headaches. Now about that AI. QuickBooks is watching your clicks. Every time you choose a category or a payee for a feed item, it takes note. Next time a similar transaction comes in, it tries to pre-fill that choice for you. That's why two companies using the same bank account or using the same bank can see completely different suggestions in the feed. The AI has been trained by each company's own history.
It's like teaching a dog new tricks. Reward the good guesses by leaving them as is, and correct the bad ones immediately so the dog doesn't learn the wrong routine.
Another misconception I hear all the time is that the bank feed posts everything automatically. It does not. Unless you switch on auto add, which we generally recommend sparingly, nothing enters the books until someone presses add or match. That safety net is a good thing. The other myth is that you don't have to reconcile anymore because you're using the feed. Reconciliation still matters. The feed is just the raw list of cleared transactions. Reconciliation proves every account balance, and QuickBooks matches the bank or card statement totals at month end. Think of Feedy as the courier bringing in the paperwork. You still have to file it in the right folder.
And a tidy courier makes for a tidy filing cabinet. If you let the courier toss papers everywhere, don't be surprised when month end takes twice as long.
So that's our introduction to Feedy. He's not the enemy. He's your gatekeeper between the real bank and your books. In the next segment, I'll show you how to train him to follow your house rules so you click less and your books stay cleaner. Now that you've met Feedy and know he's basically the gatekeeper of all that bank data, it's time to teach him the house rules. Every bank feed looks a little different because every bank sends slightly different information. Sometimes it's a nice clean payee name, and sometimes it's a string of letters and numbers that look like an alien password. QuickBooks gives us a way to tame all that noise with bank rules. Think of rules like the sticky notes you'd hand to a playful assistant whenever you see this memo line, put it here. The goal is simple: reduce clicks, keep categories consistent, and stop retyping the same choices over and over.
Start conservatively, apprentice. Make the rule fill in the payee and category so you don't have to type them, but still leave the transaction sitting in for review for you to approve. Once you trust the rule, and only then, you can flip the auto-add switch so it drops straight into the books.
Exactly. That's the safest way to get started. Rules are powerful, but power cuts both ways. If you miskey a vendor or the bank changes how it spells a memo line, you don't want dozens of transactions quietly flowing to the wrong place. So begin with suggestion-only behavior. Let the rule pre-fill the payee and category, but keep your approval step in for a review. After you've watched it behave correctly for a while, then, and only then, consider turning on autofeed for the truly rock-solid never-change items.
I love rules. They make my job so much easier.
Couldn't have said it better. Let's cover a few sensible starters almost every small business can use. If the memo contains Starbucks or Dutch Bros, that's meals and entertainment. If it contains UPS or FedEx, that's shipping. Rideshare text like Uber and Lyft goes to travel local transport. Recurring online subscriptions that hit for the same amount each month usually belong in software subscriptions or dues and subscriptions. For each of these, set the payee and category so when the feed brings them in, your only job is to click add. Those saved seconds add up to real time at month end.
Remember also that deposits behave differently. If you're using undeposited funds correctly, your credit card batches and cash deposits should already be sitting in that holding account, waiting to be grouped. When the actual deposit clears at the bank, the feed will show that as a single line. That's when you click match, never add, or you'll double count your income.
That match never add habit is month-end gold. It keeps income honest, it keeps reconciliation smooth, and it keeps Feedy from getting blamed for decisions the software can't make without you. While we're on the subject of getting rules right, here's a tip that saves headaches later. Build your conditions from the most stable clues you can find. Some banks fiddle with a pretty description line from time to time, but the raw bank text often stays consistent. If you can, key your rule off that bank text plus an amount range rather than a display description that might change. Vendor names are another place to tighten things up. If your gas station shows up as QT number 0145, Quick Trip 14, and QT PHX 14, The software will treat those as different and keep asking. Just let out one vendor name in your QuickBooks list, merge the variants, and let the rule point to the single clean payee. The clearer your data, the smarter QuickBooks looks. When you're ready to turn rules into a habit, start small. Pick the 5 or 6 repeat offenders you touch every week, the coffee runs, the shipping charges, the ride shares, the software subscriptions, and write rules for those first. Watch them for a few weeks. If they're nailing it, keep them. If they're missing, adjust the conditions. Then add a few more. Rules are like spices. A little makes the dish better. Too much all at once can ruin the flavor. There's also a strategic way to prove a rule before you let it post automatically. First month, suggestion only. Let it pre-fill the details and wait for review. Second month, after you've seen a perfect track record, you can graduate it to auto-add, especially for fixed unchanging payments, like a monthly loan draft that hits for the same amount on the same day. That way the risk window is small and the payoff is so big.
And don't forget, the AI behind the scenes is still learning from every correction you make manually. Even when you don't build a rule, your consistent choices train it to predict better next time.
That's the quiet engine helping you as you go. Each time you correct a suggestion to the right payee and category, you're teaching the system what right looks like in your business. If a guess is wrong and you just click add anyway, you're teaching it the wrong habit. Slow down, fix it once, and your future self will thank you. Let's pull the key ideas together so Feedy works on your terms. First, write rules for the high volume repeats and keep them in suggestion mode until they've earned your trust. Second, prefer stable bank text clues plus amount ranges over fragile display descriptions. Third, keep vendor names tidy and merged so the AI recognizes who's who. Fourth, for deposits, remember the mantra, match before you add, especially when undeposited funds is part of your workflow. Finally, build slowly. A handful of excellent rules is far better than a pile of guessy ones. When you approach rules this way, Feedy stops being a toss-up and starts feeling like a dependable assistant. You open the feed, most items are already labeled the way you would have labeled them, and your job is to confirm and move on. That consistency pays off at month end when you reconcile because everything is already where it belongs. Fewer surprises, fewer edits, fewer knots in your stomach when it's time to close. That's how you teach Feedy the house rules. Start conservative, aim for consistency, promote only the rules that prove themselves, and keep reinforcing the right choices so the system learns the pattern you want. Done that way, bank feeds shift from a time sink to a time saver, and you get your evenings back. Even the best trained helpers slip up sometimes. Bank feeds are no different. Feedy's quick, but he's not perfect. If you've been using the feed for a while, you've probably seen some weird things. A payment that should have matched didn't. A duplicate expense popped up. Or a transfer between two of your own accounts got counted as income. This segment is about spotting those troublemakers early and fixing them before month-end reconciliation becomes a nightmare.
Hey, I try to get it right. Sometimes the bank changes things on me.
That's actually the first thing to understand. Feedy doesn't create the raw data, he just delivers what the bank's API hands over. If the memo line from the bank changes, say, Amex payment suddenly becomes Amex ePay 0001, the rule you built last month may stop recognizing it, and suddenly your matches stop working. Let's go through the big 4 ways Feedy misbehaves and what to do about each one. 1. Duplicate transactions. The most common problem is duplicates. They usually happen when you add an item that should have been matched to an existing entry. For example, you create a customer payment from an invoice. Then the bank feed brings in the same cleared deposit. Instead of matching, you click add. Now you've got 2 deposits showing. Duplicates can also appear if you import a spreadsheet of historical transactions and then connect the feed without telling QBO where the overlap starts.
Apprentice, the cure is to slow down and look at the recognized column. If QuickBooks highlights an item as matched, review the details before you click Add. And when in doubt, reconcile right after month end to catch any doubles fast.
If you do catch a duplicate, don't panic. You can usually just undo the feed copy or the feed added copy from the register and the balance fixes itself. The key is catching it before it throws off your reconciliation. 2. Name drift and category confusion. Second troublemaker is name drift. Banks aren't consistent. Like I said earlier, your gas station might appear as QT number 0145 or Quick Trip 14, maybe QT 14. The AI thinks those are different vendors and keeps prompting you. Same goes for categories. If you change your mind 3 times about whether that car wash is vehicle maintenance or advertising, the feed just learns chaos. The fix: clean up your vendor list in QBO and stick to consistent categories. You can merge duplicate vendors so the AI stops guessing wrong. That little cleanup alone saves hours later. 3. Transfers gone wild. The third big issue is transfers gone wild. Moving money between your own accounts, say from checking to savings, should never show up as income or expense. But if you add both sides instead of using the transfer button, you'll inflate both deposits and withdrawals. That not only messes up the profit and loss, it also makes reconciliation a nightmare because the balances won't line up.
The habit to build is, whenever the from account and to account are both yours, pick record as transfer, so QBO links them together.
4. Old stale items looking in for review. Finally, there's the junk pile. Those old unmatched transactions sitting in for review for months. Sometimes they're legitimate historical items you never booked. Other times they're phantom lines the bank voided long ago. Leaving them there clutters your screen and tempts you to click Add just to clear the list. Don't do it. Best practice is to investigate them one by one. If they really happened and should be in the books, add or match them properly. If they're errors or voided items, exclude them so they disappear from the review screen, but stay in the feed history for reference. A clean feed makes everything else easier. One thing a lot of folks don't realize: every time you change a suggested category to the correct one, you're teaching the AI. If you ignore the wrong guess and just hit Add anyway, it learns the wrong thing. So when Feedy suggests the wrong account, always fix it before you click Add. The faster you correct it, the sooner the engine adjusts its future predictions.
Think of it as house training a puppy. Correct it right away, or you'll be cleaning the same mess for weeks.
Here's a QuickBooks troubleshooting routine. 1. Scan the feed for any obvious duplicates or mismatched deposits and fix them immediately. 2. Review your vendor list for name drift. Merge or rename to keep it consistent. Check for any transfers and make sure sides are recorded as transfer, not add. 4. Clear out stale items in for review by adding, matching, or excluding them. 5. Always reconcile at month end so you catch anything that slipped through the 10-minute habit each week, and it saves hours of tax time. So don't fear the mistakes. Just learn to spot them early and clean them up right away. When we come back, we'll show you how to keep Feedy in his cage with a steady weekly routine so he stays your helper, not your headache. By now you've met Feedy, trained him with rules, and learned how to fix his little slip-ups. The last piece of the puzzle is keeping him in his cage, meaning you run the feed on your schedule instead of letting it run you. A lot of people connect their bank feeds and then just let it pile up for weeks. Next thing you know, there are 300 items sitting in for review, and month-end reconciliation feels like wrestling an octopus. The trick is to build a weekly routine that's quick, calm, and repeatable.
Discipline keeps the monsters docile, apprentice. Feed them a little at a time, every week, and they won't overrun your books.
Exactly. Here's the routine I use with nearly every client, and it works whether you've got 20 transactions a week or 2,000. Choose one day each week, maybe Friday afternoon or Monday morning, and make that your feed review day. Log in, open the banking tab, and clear the week's items while they're still fresh in your mind. The longer you wait, the fuzzier those little purchases become. Was that gas station charge for the truck or my personal car? Catching them early means fewer guesses.
I like snack-sized batches, not a month-old buffet.
Each session, start by scanning for recognized and matched items. Those usually tie to payments you already entered or deposits from undeposited funds. Approve those first. They're the easiest. Next, work through the true add items, things that never existed in the books yet, and assign categories or payees as needed.
Remember the order, apprentice. Match before you add. It keeps the ledger tidy and helps reconciliation later.
Before you leave the banking screen, filter for transfers. Confirm every transfer between your own accounts is recorded as a transfer on both sides, not as income or expenses. Catching that weekly prevents the P&L from ballooning with phantom revenue. Handle the stale stragglers. Any transaction that sits in full review more than a couple of weeks deserves attention. If it's legitimate, add or match it. If it's a bank error, void, or something you know doesn't belong, exclude it so it's out of your workspace but still logged in the feed history. Leaving stale items behind is like leaving junk mail on your desk. Eventually you'll click it just to get rid of it and regret it later.
Clutter breeds mistakes. A clean feed is a calm mind.
5. Reconcile every month. Even with a disciplined feed routine, never skip reconciliation. The feed shows what cleared the bank. Reconciliation proves your QuickBooks balance equals the statement balance to the penny. At month end, go to the Reconcile screen, enter the statement's ending balance and date, and make sure every cleared item in QBO matches what the bank shows. We just did a show about reconciliation. If you've kept up with your weekly feed work, that reconciliation usually takes 10 minutes or less. And if you're using the AI, it could take less than a minute.
Feed me right, treat me fair, and I'll keep your books humming.
Here's my go-to end-of-month checklist for keeping Feedy in his cage. Make sure all weeks in that month's feed are cleared. Nothing's sitting unreviewed. Confirm all deposits from undeposited funds match correctly. No stray ads. Check that all inter-account transfers use the transfer option. Scan the vendor list for new names that need merging or mapping to rules. Run reconciliation on all active bank and credit card accounts, plus petty cash or merchant clearing if you use them. Investigate any out-of-balance warning immediately. Don't leave it for next month. Knocking out that list means you start the new month clean and confident.
And a clean start is the secret to staying ahead of every other monster that lives in the ledger.
So that's how you keep Feedy in his cage. Weekly discipline, clean habits, and a final month-end proof. Do that, and the bank fee becomes the best time saver in your bookkeeping toolkit, instead of another monster chewing on your numbers.
Another monster tamed. Remember, apprentice, may your books always balance.
Thanks for listening to the QuickBooks Wizard Podcast. I'm Brian Cogan. We'll see you next week with another monster story and more tips to make QuickBooks work the way you wish it always had.